Hello, American Dream Makers. It is Zena Krogadal, and I am excited to be here this evening with you. And I hope you are tuning in. And if you are, why did I say tuning in? That's kind of an old phrase, isn't it? So I hope you are live streaming right now. And if you are, please go ahead and share this out. I have an amazing guest on here tonight. You know, all of the guests that we've had so far have been pretty amazing people. So get ready, and you're going to be very blessed by this next guest. But I'm going to go ahead and play my intro video. And before I play the intro video, I just want you to know how much I appreciate all of you in this as we are ending the 2023 year. I want you to really think about ways that you see yourself in 2024. So here we go. I'm going to play this intro video and we will be right back. Hello, hello, hello. It is so great to be on here with you. And how is everything going for you? And how is your evening right now? Right now, it's actually pretty mild temperatures for being winter time. I don't know how it is where you guys are at, but love to hear from you. Please go ahead and share this out. I've got an amazing guest coming on with me. It is Miss Suzanne O'Connor, and she has done so many great things. My goodness, let's just get to it because she truly is an amazing woman. So here she is. Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
Hi, Zena. Great. Thank you.
Good. I'm so glad that you're able to be here this evening. And I just want to tell the viewers right now that if we are live on StreamYard right now, so if you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give Facebook permission. That way, when you comment, we can actually see your name and it's fun. And if for some reason you can't go to StreamYard, then at least if you tell us your name, you know, type your name afterwards. Otherwise, it just pops up Facebook users. So I just wanted to just mention that real quick. Suzanne, tell us where you are at, and is there any snow right now?
No, thank goodness. It did snow a little bit the last couple of days, but nothing stuck. We've had kind of a mild winter. I'm about an hour west of St. Louis, Missouri. So typically for us, this is pretty cold, but you know, in St. Louis, the thing is, if you don't like the weather, stick around a day, it'll change. And that's the way it's been. So we've had a pretty mild winter so far. Fingers crossed.
How long have you been in St. Louis, Missouri area?
My entire life. So we'll keep that part a secret. But I was born and raised here.
Oh, wow. Born and raised there. Mm-hmm. That is pretty amazing. Now, is it a town where a lot of people are born and raised there and they don't leave? Or is that kind of an unusual thing that you have been there your whole life?
Oh, I don't think it's real unusual. It's honestly, you know, it's the Midwest. I'm sure a lot of people do leave, but we kind of have a lot of people that also just hang around. It's not a bad place to be.
Well, that's really cool. So in the town that you grew up in, is it a rural area or are you in the big city?
Well, now I've lived all over in the area. So I probably grew up more in the suburbs. And then, but after I was married, then and where we currently live is out more in the country a little bit outside of St. Louis. And we have 16 acres and horses. And so I have that life and love it. So kind of been both sides of it, suburbia and out a little bit with some acreage.
16 acres. That's a lot of acreage to take care of.
Yes, that's my husband's job.
And how many horses do you have?
We have 2. Yeah, we've had more. We've had 4, but we're down to 2 and we love it. You know, it's just one of those parts of your lifestyle that you kind of have. And and enjoy, and don't seem to ever outgrow it.
Wow. So you've been riding horses since you've been able to walk. Is this the case?
No, I actually didn't start riding until probably later in life. Always loved horses, always wanted to be around them. And then finally was able to get a horse with my dad, helped me out with that. And then you kind of envelop your circle of friends and they help you along the way. And then I started barrel racing, and I did that for about 35 years. So we went to a lot of rodeos. My husband, he's a team roper. So it's a common interest that we share, that we love. And had some ministry work involved with that. He did as well. So it's been fun. It's been good. Now, I'm not still barrel racing, though. I kind of gave that up. I gave that up about 2 years ago. I decided, okay, I think my horse and I, we will just have some nice, lovely trail rides together and let him enjoy his retiring years and mine as well. But my husband still ropes. He still enjoys it.
So, I mean, 35 years of barrel racing, Suzanne, that's honestly pretty phenomenal, because that takes a lot of physical stamina to be able to barrel race. And not only that, tell us about all the things that go on when you're barrel racing. I mean, you're using muscles you normally don't use, but then you're also having to think really quickly. So tell us what that feels like. Take us through that a little bit for 35 years of barrel racing.
Well, you don't do a lot of thinking at the moment when you're barrel racing. You're just trying to remember to continue to breathe. There's so much work involved with barrel racing because there's you've got to keep your horse conditioned. You have to be conditioned. So you're doing a lot of practicing, a lot of riding through the week. We get to the barrel race. It's a long day generally. You have to wait for your time to compete like any other sport. You're there for a while. You develop a lot of friends in that group of people. But as far as the barrel race itself, I mean, you just anticipate, when you're up, and your horse knows when you're getting ready to compete, and the adrenaline rises, and there's really a cool feeling. So then all that kind of comes together at the moment when they call your name and you take off. And the only thing I think about is getting to that first spot, where I need to go. And then between kind of like muscle memory takes over, and we just go as fast as we can. And if we're not afraid, then we're not going fast enough.
Wow. That's interesting. If you're not.
It's an old barrel racing thing.
Say that one more time. I want to hear that one more time.
As if you're not going fast, if you're not afraid, you're not going fast enough.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking there are a lot of men, especially, that probably are like, yes, that is very true.
It's a horse race, right? You got to go as fast as you can. Leave all those barrels up. And, those races are won and lost by hundreds of seconds.
Really?
It's not even a blink. And so it's super, super competitive, but it's so much fun. And it's great to be, one with your horse and doing that competition. I've learned a lot of life lessons from barrel racing and just being with horses and just the discipline of it.
Yeah, and I'm finding this very interesting, because I'm thinking, because I am not a barrel racer. Now, I've watched barrel racing and I've been to the rodeo, and I find it very, very interesting as a spectator to watch. And I admire, those that get in the arena, because there's so much going on. And what I want to ask you, so as you are training with your horse, now, how many horses have you raced with in the 35 years?
Oh, probably about 6 or 7, different ones.
So you have pretty long relationships with the horses that you race with.
Yeah. You start out and obviously you're not doing that. I mean, you're just learning. You're a beginner, right? So you have beginner horses, and then you kind of advance and you get faster horses. And then eventually I got the horse that I probably kept the longest, and we raced together for about 17 years, something like that, with this one horse. And then I had other horses with him as well. But I still have him. I'll always have him.
So
He's great.
17 years though, that's a long time to be in a relationship
Mhm.
with anyone.
Yes, it's true.
And
Lasts
so
longer than some marriages do.
unfortunately, that is true, right? Unfortunately, that's true. So let me ask you, so what is the secret to the connection with the horse? What is the secret to the connection with the horse? And when did you know this is the horse that I am going to stick with?
Well, he's beautiful. Like there was a he's one of those horses that's just he's put together well. He's got a great conformation, and um, he's fast. He was very fast, and then we just did a lot of training, groundwork with him. He was very receptive, but he's he's not mean, but he's got a big heart, and he tries really hard for you, and he's smart, and he can think better than I can sometimes in there. He's always taken care of me. He's so sure-footed. There's some horses that aren't, so no matter whatever the arena was like, I knew that I could trust him. I knew that he would get me there. We weren't going to end up splattered somewhere. And he was winning. He was taking me to the pay window. That helps.
He was bringing some money, and that is
Yeah.
good for sure. Yeah, so it sounds like you had just some good intuition connection
Mm-hmm.
on a level that that you knew, and he knew, because
Yeah.
I know horses are very intuitive. Is that the word? Intuitive? They're very,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they can
There's,
sense things.
yes, they certainly can. They can, like, if you're afraid, they know that immediately. They can certainly sense anything. I think so many times that we don't appreciate that level of communication, is just that unspoken word or that sense of communication. And that with a horse. I used to tell people that when in businesses training them with sales, I said, a lot of times you don't realize that it's not just the words you say. It's that unspoken communication that you can just feel, and your horse feels that. You can feel that in other people. There's a sense of that's out there. And, if in your mind you've got something going on and your mouth is saying something else, don't be surprised that they're not believing you because of that sense that people get.
Well, and actually studies have shown that the nonverbal communication is about 97% body language
Right.
versus
Mm-hmm.
verbal language.
Right.
And so you're right. Many times as humans, I think we're not quite as in tune as we should be when it comes to that. But the animals, because we don't speak the same language verbally, our communication with animals really is nonverbal and on the subconscious. So Chris is here. He says, "Hi, Chris." He says, "That's some really good horse sense."
Told you I learned a lot from those horses.
Yeah, I would imagine you did, absolutely. So as you've learned from those horses, and so tell us what you do, and how long you've been doing it for.
Well, I've owned 4 different businesses. This is kind of like my third that I'm in now. I'm a health insurance broker, so I really help people solve their health insurance problems. I've been doing that for about 9 years. And then the 4th business was getting my book going, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But prior to that, I had been in fitness franchising for about 17 years. So I was helping people with their fitness goals. And then prior to that, I actually was in owning and operating a restaurant. So the joke was in the town that I did this was that in our restaurant, we had great big chicken fried steaks, right? And so the joke was, so for 9 years, we fattened everybody up. And then after that restaurant closed, then we went into the fitness franchise business. So we were trying to help people lose weight. So it's kind of how that started anyway in our hometown. But so it was another business. I feel that probably what always brings a person reward is if you're in a business where you're helping people solve problems, and that's what helps bring you some good reward as far as just having successful businesses. So right now it's selling health insurance, and we just got through a crazy time, open enrollment. So whew, made it through another one of those.
You're glad to be done with open enrollment is what
Oh
you're.
yes, yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure.
and how long have you been doing the health insurance for?
About 9 years.
9 years now.
Mm-hmm. It was
Wow.
started out as a part-time job. When I got done with the fitness franchising, I thought, well, maybe I'll retire, maybe I won't. And then there was an opportunity to do this. I thought I'll just do this part-time, but it's grown into a big business. So it's good.
Well, and if you're enjoying it, why not?
Right. That's what I say,
Yeah.
plenty of time to sit around and on the front porch on the rocker.
Or you don't you really need to have to, because maybe that's not something that floats your boat anyways. Not everybody's
right.
dream is to sit on the rocker all day long drinking lemonade. So
I totally agree with that. I just
now,
can't see any sense in it at this point.
right. And so do you have kids as well, Suzanne? Do you have a?
Yes, I do. I have 2 sons, and then I have 3 stepdaughters. So I have a blended family. And so together we have 11 grandchildren, 9 of them boys, 2 girls. And so we have a big get together when we're all together. And so it's been great, though. I didn't always get that path straight. I didn't get that marriage the first time around, but eventually prayer, and you learn from your mistakes. And I did, we've been happily married now for like 18 years. So
Wow, congratulations. That's pretty exciting.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and you know what? Sometimes that's the journey we walk. We learn. There's just things
Right.
that happen in life, and hopefully we learn from it so we don't repeat the mistakes. And I'm so glad to hear that you ended up with a great husband, sounds like, and that you enjoy a lot of the same things, which is awesome. And as him being a roper, that's also quite a activity.
Mhm.
People have lost fingers in roping.
Oh
So,
yeah, for sure.
so it's not as easy as they make it look, people.
No. No, unfortunately, I've been around when that's happened, and it's not pretty.
No.
Mm-mm.
But there's something about it that even when you lose that finger, they still want to get in the arena and continue. So there is something about the love of being a part of all of that. So, so again, like you said, there's probably so many lessons that you've been able to apply an activity that you love like that into
Mhm.
your life. And so tell us, what would you say is the top 3 things you have learned from being part of the arena?
Well, one thing is, if you get bucked off, just get back on your horse again. That's just dust off your britches and let's go again. And you're always going to be learning. Every time I ride and after every competition, it's like, how can I do this better? How can I improve? Because you're always trying to get your speed better or your technique better or whatever, and I think we apply that every day. How can I do my job better? How can I make this more successful? I would say that that's one thing. I believe that my core beliefs to be successful in business and or in barrel racing is basically you just have to you have to show up. You have to be on time. Can't be late for barrel races. You don't get like a 5-minute you're late. You're 3 times you call, you're out. You don't get to compete. You have to kind of have your schedule, know your schedule, be able to compete. And I think that's the same with work. Like I try to, be on time as much as I can and as much as I can control. And I just believe you just got to work extra hard, for whatever it is. You just put that extra effort in. And then, I pray every time I got on that horse. I prayed, and I pray all the time, and asking God's blessing and protection. So I believe that I learned that from it, and I find that so many of the people in the horse community, they're just good people. They have good morals. We stand for the flag. We care about that. We try to raise our kids to be, tough a little bit too. It's not always an easy life. A lot of times you're coming home late in the wee hours of the night and going out again the next day. So there's a lot that goes into it. And you just kind of like get into the habit of hard work. Only you're doing it in even something you love, with your hobby as well.
Wow, that's great. I really love all those lessons that you have learned and shared, and that absolutely are lessons to continue to, I guess, hang on to for sure. Now, your kids, did they get into barrel racing or any part of the rodeo?
Not really too much. I mean, they rode, and we all had horses when they were little, and they did some barrel racing and competing when they were younger. But then when they got in school, we lived rurally in the country, where we had our horses, but the kids went to school more in the suburbia area. Well, none of their friends were riding horses, right? So they ended up doing baseball and soccer and all that. And and all their kids are into the sport. So, but they learned a lot. They had to take care of horses. That's the other thing. I mean, you have to get up, you got to feed them, you got to clean up. There's a lot of discipline that's involved with that as well. And they had to do that, even though they weren't competing, as much. And then probably when I started competing more, they were grown, and gone. So, then our hay help left. We had to start doing it ourselves.
Would you say that you started competing more because they were older and you didn't have little ones to take care of, and so you had more time for that?
Yeah, I had more time. And that's when I got into it more. That was kind of the progression of my time. I had horses before that, but I was just learning. I was learning all about horses and, just getting involved. I didn't start off just barrel racing. So there was a lot of trail rides and a lot of learning about them. And then eventually I started developed a love for barrel racing, something fun to do with them. And I'm a competitor. And so that was another way to compete.
Oh, so you like to win for sure, huh?
I do. It's fun.
That's great. Well, and I think that probably would be very exhilarating for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's something, I mean, obviously that's not the only reason you continue to go. You always do want to win, right? You're in a race, right? You're trying to put money in, you want to go to the pay window. And even at work, and when you're in sales, it's you're trying to make sales, you're not, but is that the only reason you do it? No. Like with business, you're helping people, and that's a reward, and not everyone is a sale, right? Not every barrel race was a win. That's for sure. But I had fun that day, regardless if I would win or not. You're still with your friends, with your group of people, and you're enjoying your horse, and you're enjoying your time. Now, can it get old and tiresome in the wee hours of the night? Yes. But that's just a part of it. You kind of got to take the grind. You have to, with jobs or whatever, there's a daily grind. And that's what a lot of people, that's, I think, what you really learn from anything, with that is like, you got to do it.
The discipline, developing the discipline is what it sounds like you're saying, that how important that is. No matter what the outcome is, the discipline is what's going to get you to where you're wanting to be.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it does take a lot of discipline to be in those barrel races, for sure. Like I said, there's a lot of going on, not just physical, but mental as well. And not only that, but because you're in partnership with your horse, you have to be in sync with your horse. So you have to have that relationship, because I'm going to guess that the times that maybe you've had a horse that you weren't in sync with, did you know that pretty much right off the bat, or yeah?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. And sometimes I tried and tried and tried and tried because my husband said, "You're the most patient person with them. I hope you can be that patient with me." That's what he always said. And sometimes you just keep trying. And sometimes you just realize, you know what? They're just not cut out for this. This is not their thing. It's just not, they're not going to be really good at it. And then you have to accept that because they all have a job. They all have different things to do that they're better at. And you just have to keep going till you find the one that has what it takes, to the heart to want to do it, and the ability and the body ability to do what you need it to do to compete.
That's very interesting that you say that, because what you're saying is that horses have unique talents and abilities. They're not all built for the same thing. Some are better at probably endurance races. Some are more short term. Some are better at, I guess, just doing other activities depending.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess and I suppose that's the same with all of us. We all have different abilities and talents, and to be able to recognize that probably sooner rather than later probably does save you some headaches, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
So have you ever had like a real serious injury from barrel racing?
No, not a serious one. No, I've only had one where I've, crashed around the barrel and kind of messed up my knee. And of course, it was in the middle of the one season where I was winning. And fortunately, it was, was able to have we had about a 2-week time period where we did not have very many barrel races. So I was able to let my knee heal up a little bit. And they told me I couldn't ride for 6 weeks. And I said, well, that's not going to happen, So we got a brace and just went back to it. And just, he said, well, as long as you wear your brace, you should be okay. So I did. The good news is I did end up winning that season. So it was, was it the easiest thing to do? But it was what I wanted to do, and what it worked out good for me that year. So sometimes, even though you experience something like that, you don't have to let it wreck you.
That's great. Kudos to you for not letting it mess with your mental
right
stamina on that, because that can absolutely throw you off mentally. And if you're off your mental game, I guess it's game over, because it's pretty hard to continue on. But your determination. Right. So, Suzanne, I'm going to guess that you have carried that determination on off the field of barrel racing and doing things. So tell us what you are doing these days. So I know you just said you're selling health insurance, but there's something else that you've been doing.
Well, actually, now this last business that I didn't really realize was a business, which was to publish my book. And it was about 11 years ago, the Lord gave me a poem. I had a lot going on. This is before I was even selling health insurance, and a lot of irons in the fire. And the next thing you know, one night I had a dream. And in this dream, I had a big event, and everything was just falling apart, crashing around behind me, and it was horrible. So the next thing, I woke up the next day and it was like so vivid, and the Lord, I felt like the dream was from the Lord, and I prayed about it, and the Lord gave me a poem. Now I know it was from the Lord because honestly, Zena, I have never written a poem in my life. Never, ever, ever. So I sat down and I just wrote this poem. And wow, I read the poem and I was like, wow, okay. It helped me so much. It helped me put in perspective what I was doing with my life, how I was overcrowding, all these different things. So I would read that poem and I would feel like I would get a lot of comfort from the poem. I realized that I'm not in charge, even though I think I am. And it just helped me in so many ways. And then after a period of time, there was a really snowy winter, and I felt like the Lord was really impressioning me to kind of dig a little bit deeper. And I started writing a chapter, kind of like a little book about the poem. So each verse, there was 12 verses of the poem. So each verse, I wrote a chapter in the book and just kind of pressed into God for more of the meaning of it and how to apply it more in my life. Did that, got through with that. And so then I took it to my pastor up at church, and he goes, "Wow, this is really good. You think you could do some small groups on this?" I go, "Well, I guess I could." So I did that for a couple of years with it. And then it was time to publish the book. It was like, I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't have the money. I didn't really know what I was supposed to do with it, you know? So then I was starting this health insurance deal about that time, and I just put it in the drawer. And then I forgot. I just never did anything with it. And then about a year or so ago, I started getting involved with, I listened to Coach Burt. I know you're familiar with him, America's coach. And, you know, he was inspiring. It was like he was talking to me, you know, like that God is giving you something in your heart to do, to share to the world, song to sing. And what are you waiting for? You know? And I was like, well, and I just felt so convicted. Like, yeah, I mean, I've always felt bad that I just didn't really ever share that any further, you know? And so he helped me. He helped me by showing me who to help me get the book published and how to kind of go about it. So I finally was able to get the book published. And so it was kind of a journey, because this was all happened this past year. And I was learning so many new things about how to do all this, and the social media. I wasn't a social media person at all, still really not. And so learning that whole big learning curve of that, and getting all this book done. So pretty. Whoever designed the cover was really nice. It's really turned out pretty. Tiny little book though. Okay. Not a big book. That didn't take you that long to read. And then the interesting thing happened through all that. I ended up going for my annual mammogram, and I ended up unfortunately with a breast cancer diagnosis. And it was, I remember it very well. I was like right before April 1st, because I remember it was the day before, and I remember waking up on April 1st thinking, oh, I just wish this was April Fool's Day and I didn't have this, you know, because everything was so positive with the book and everything was going well. And then, you know, to have that. But you know what? It ended up, it was a very small, a very operable cancer, and all that's been surgically removed. I was very blessed. My son had worked in the oncology field for a short time, and he was able to get me hooked up with a machine that instead of me having to have 40 radiation treatments, I only had to have one, which I don't know if you know anything about that, but that radiation is bad stuff. So I was blessed again. And all this whole time, as I was going through this book was coming out, you know, it being all these things. And it was like kind of two worlds walking next to each other, you know, like it was great. And then it was not great, but all through it, my husband and I had a tremendous sense of peace. And I can tell you that came from this fact of being able to spend every day with God, every day within reading the word, praying, journaling. And I would be so afraid. I tell you, when you get that diagnosis, you're like, that's just a bad word. You just immediately think you're going to die. And what I didn't really realize is that doesn't mean that, you know. And I think we sometimes treat other people like that, you know, like you hear that and you just think that, but that's not the way we really need to think about this. Can it happen? Yes. But there's a whole lot of people that don't die and recover from it and are treated by it. And so it kind of opened up an entire different world for me, you know, to see that side of it. I was afraid, yes, but I was never, you know, I was still in peace. I always call it in peace, not at peace, because I think being in peace is more of a state of being you know, but if you don't really have that really rock solid, like, relationship, I don't know how you kind of get through it, you know, because that was my comfort. Like, no matter what happened, God's in control, and, you know, I'm going to leave it in his hands. And so we had a lot of peace about it. And so everything's going fine now. I don't have any cancer. I don't have to have chemotherapy. I'm just taking a pill for 5 years that would, you know, potentially block anything from coming, you know, back. And so kind of going through that, and then watching the book and kind of going through all that and learning from how to get that to the market and what we need to do to try to present that a little bit, to try to share it, because that's, you know, that's not an easy thing to do. I'm telling you, the first time, have you ever written a book, Zena?
I'm in the process of writing a book. So yeah. Kelly says, hi, Suzanne. She's so proud of you. Oh, hi, Kelly. Thanks for being on here. And
hi, Kelly.
In peace, not peace. Brilliant. Yes. I love that too, for sure. Yeah. So I'm in the process of writing a book, and it's not easy.
Well, the book writing part to me wasn't hard. You know what's hard? When you put it out there for the rest of the world to read, you know, and especially something as personal as your relationship with God and something like this, you know. And I remember the first time when I was working with them, and there was an editor was going to go through it, and I'm like, oh, wow. I go, okay, so let's just see what happens. Let's let the editor read it and see what happens. Because I really had never let it, but, you know, I mean, I had small groups on it and everything, but it was never in a book form. So nobody ever really read it. So the editor came back. I prayed all weekend for this editor that was reading the book. And she came back and she said, well, in your book, you said, if you could help just one person, you would be blessed, you know, and it'd be worth it writing the book. And she said, well, I can tell you one thing, you have changed my life with it. And I was like, okay, that's what I needed to hear, to be able to feel like, okay, so who reads the book, if it can help them and change their lives, that's the whole reason why we do it, right? That's the whole reason why we risk ourselves, put ourselves out there to do that. You even did say that with this podcast. I related to that when you told me that we get all about ourselves and not about what we're to do for the Lord, you know, and how we're to share what the message that he's given us to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's scary for sure. And so to get your book, The Timekeeper, it's on Amazon, correct? Is it on Amazon? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then also your, I believe this is your website, right? Yourdailyrenewal.com.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm going to leave that up there here for a bit here so that people can check it out, yourdailyrenewal.com. You definitely want to get The Timekeeper. It is a very sweet read. I have not made it through the whole thing yet because I've got like 20 books to go through. So I try to get a little bit at a time here and there. But I can tell that it has come from your heart, a place that was very deep in your soul. And so it's very beautiful. And yes, I think it's going to encourage more than just that one person. I do believe that if God placed it on your heart to do something, it was meant to be shown to the world. So, you know, you got to let your light shine, because your light isn't your light. Your light is his light. And I think, right. And I think because we're humans, let's just face it, we're humans. So we think about ourselves a lot. That's just, and how we feel and what people might think. And, you know, so yeah. So if I put this out there, what if somebody rejects it? What if somebody says, oh my gosh, you wrote that? And so those fears come in. Oh yeah, that's so beautiful. It will impact so many. Yes, Kelly, definitely. And can I put the link in here to check it out? Yes, absolutely, Kelly. If you can put the link in there, that would be great. Let me see, actually, if you can put it in there, that'd be great. Let me see if I can do it on my end too. Because if you put it in there, I think it definitely stays, Kelly, if we can go to it, because it would be great for others to get to that screen for sure. And so so many times I think many of us bypass that still small voice because we'll come up with all sorts of excuses. At least I do. Maybe I shouldn't say we. I come up with all sorts of excuses. I shouldn't speak for everybody. But in the end, if I am a follower of Jesus Christ and I say that I love him and that my life, truly belongs to him, then the reality is I've come to realize that my life really doesn't truly belong to me. It belongs to him, and it's belonged to him all along. And so I need to just surrender to his purpose. Like, we spend so much time trying to figure out our purpose in life, right? And yet God has already determined our destiny, our purpose before we were even born. I mean, he says he knew us before we were even formed in our mother's womb. He knew us and he already set us apart. So Suzanne, I'm very proud of you that you have done such an amazing step of obedience and step of faith. And with that, I want to lead into, so you've got this book and then you have something else going on in January.
Yes. So through work too, I met Kimberly Stevens, who you've had on your show. And we found that we didn't know each other very much, that she had written a book. She went through cancer. We had a lot in common. And the next thing you know, we've gotten to become friends. And I read her book, and then she introduced me to you. And now we have the Amplify. So she's going to be a speaker, and I'm going to now be a panelist on the Amplify. It's a summit, and it's in North Carolina, the 27th. And I'm very excited about it because anytime we have an opportunity to bring a lot of strong Christian women together, it's just amazing what can happen. Anytime you bring a lot of strong, faith-filled people together, God moves and things happen, and we're all strengthened by it, and we're all learn from it. So I'm very excited to be a part of that, because I've always said, if there's any way I can get more God, then let me have that. Right. And so I think we're going to have a lot of that on that day, and can't wait to get there. So hope everybody else can find it in their schedule and find some time. I mean, it's winter. You need a little break. Grab your girlfriend and come to the summit, right? And be lifted up. There's so many powerful, wonderful speakers there. I can't wait to hear all of them myself, because anytime you get involved with anything like this is just nothing more than a way for God to help, lift you up as well. And like you say, he owns it all. I've always said that, even with businesses or whatever, God said, I've always taken care of you. I always will. Right. And so I believe that he will do that with all of us, as scared as we all might be going there and doing that, being at one of the first big conferences. But I believe that he'll be with us and he'll help us get across the message that he wants. And something else you said, Zena, I find lately that I feel like that what we need to do is really look at ourselves and embrace our life, the good and the bad, that all of that, because we can, and we embrace it, not in spite of it, but because of it. Like, if I didn't have those failures, if I didn't have those mess ups, if I didn't have all that stuff along with the good things and the positive things, then you're just not as, you're not learning, like, we just have to kind of learn from our failures. And like we talked about, am I going to not have some not so perfect times? Yes. And we all are, but we just have to kind of move past that, learn from it, and then just grow with it. And that's what I think helps us to be, if you think about, there's no perfect people out there. So why does God use us? We're not perfect. Well, it's because there just aren't any of us that are perfect on this planet. So he just has to work with the best of us that he can and kind of teach us along the way. So our messes can become our message.
Absolutely. He uses all things. Oh, I love you both. May God continue to bless you. Facebook user. I'm not sure who Facebook user is, but I'm sure it's somebody very, very lovely. And I'm sure it's somebody we love too. So,
Yeah.
and Kelly says that she can't wait to be with us all there in January. We can't wait to see you either, Kelly. Kelly, you are an amazing woman and very inspirational as well, and doing so many good things. And yes, agreed that it is a great way to kick off the new year. January 27th, Amplify Your Life Women's Summit. And yeah, come and enjoy a weekend of just being able to receive and getting poured into, and to be able to meet other women just like Suzanne, who has grown and learned so much over the years. And you can hear in her voice that her faith has been strengthened, because of it. And yes, message can become our message. Love it. I know Suzanne's just dropping a bunch of great bombs here tonight. So it's fantastic, So, and again, you want to get the Timekeeper. It's going to be a book that will absolutely lift your spirit and soothe your soul and give you hope. And, and in this world of all the craziness going around us, we could use a lot of hope, actually, and a lot of encouragement. For sure. And yes, he says, yay, go Sue O'Connor. Excited to meet you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. What most are you excited about the Amplify Your Life Women's Summit, Suzanne? I know when you were asked to be a panelist, tell us a little bit about that conversation that you and Yessie had.
Well, let's see, that was a minute ago. Well, I can't exactly remember what we were talking about at the time. I think I'm excited about getting a chance to, meet all these other women and men, the people, the speakers. Like, it was very, just reading everybody's bio was like, what they've been through. I love getting to know other people's stories. That I think is so powerful. We even did a small group thing in our church one time, because kind of a thing happened. One of the ladies, one of our church members, passed away from a brain tumor. Young, she middle-aged woman. And I'll tell you what, I learned more about that woman at her funeral than I ever did sitting next to her in church. And I thought, gee, that's a shame. She wrote a book. She had all these doctorate degrees and things I would have never known. And I thought, wow, I wish I would have known more about her. So that's been kind of a thing that I have, just to try to get to learn to know people, and because I do believe, as a body of Christ, we are here to help each other and lift each other up, and just understand each other, and understand how God has worked in all of our lives. What I always find is, whenever you hear a story, the underlying message is, we got off the path, but God never gave up on us. We got back on the path. And I think sometimes people look around and think, they look around church, think, oh, all these people are so perfect. A bunch of people, church ladies, every one of them's got a story. I guarantee you, but understanding that story and learning from that story, and helping lift each other up and encourage other people that might be struggling, because we don't want to get that out and share that, like, I don't want to tell you about all my mistakes, because I don't, but really, that's really a part of what we need to do, is share how God, even through our mistakes, always brought us back and never left us. He never left us, and brought us back to where we need to be, to help us grow and to help us learn. So I think that's what I'm always excited about when I get around other people that are strong believers, because there's just something so powerful about that, in my mind.
Oh, absolutely. Very powerful. Our testimonies, we don't put enough, I guess, we don't put enough emphasis on it, because, again, I think we make it about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so once we can get over ourselves and realize what you just said, our messes, we need to be talking about what God has done with them, because that's the testimony of who he is. That's what gives him the glory.
Right.
And, because what kind of story is it that you were just born perfect?
Like
Nothing happened to you and you didn't
boring.
have
Yeah. It
I
doesn't
mean,
happen.
but yet, and you're right. And there are people, even they haven't come to church because they see a bunch of hypocrites. We hear that. I hear that quite a bit. I don't go to church because there's hypocrites there. Well, you're right. There are, because we're sinners. We're not saying we're not there because we're perfect, and are we going to achieve perfection while going there? We're probably never going to achieve perfection until we're out of this body, and into heaven. But what we are doing is trying to encourage each other in our spiritual journey and our walk, and lifting each other up.
Right.
And it's as important as our spiritual life is in growing and learning from each other and holding each other accountable and lifting each other up when we fall and being there for one another. It's also important that when you're in business to be around other people as well who do the same thing on the business sense. Would you say that?
Oh, absolutely. For
And
sure.
so this Amplify Your Life Summit, so anyone who is in business or in ministry, because ministry can be very daunting and very exhausting, because we can get in the task of doing things that it can get really challenging. It can mess with our psyche sometimes, exhausted. But being around women who are experiencing the same things, they are working, they're moms, maybe they're tired and exhausted, and they're also trying to go to church and be a good Christian, be a good Christian woman, be a good wife, be a good mother, whatever it is. And sometimes we feel alone. I don't know about you, Suzanne, but there have been times I felt like I'm the only one experiencing this.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not going to share, because nobody's going to understand. But I think that's just the enemy yakking in your head, because he knows that if we are alone, we're pretty vulnerable. But when we are together, we truly are better together. And God designed us to be together. So Amplify Your Life, what's exciting is that it is going to be a group of women who, like you said, have a faith. And maybe they're not necessarily there like you and I are, and that's okay. It's a journey. But maybe they have a sense that there's something more, but they want to be around women who have the core values of what a Christian woman has. And maybe they're running a business and they're trying to figure out this balance. Well, coming here, you're going to meet some amazing women, just like Suzanne here, that can really help propel you in your business, in your ministry, and in your spiritual life. And so wouldn't it be sweet to have a sister that lives in St. Louis, Missouri, that you can call on or text and say, I really need your prayer, right now. And this is what's going on. And Suzanne can say, I totally understand. Because sometimes when people aren't going through those things, they can listen, but they don't necessarily have that understanding. Would you say that that can be kind of like, oh, it's hard to talk to this person because they don't really understand?
Right. Oh, for sure. It's just amazing sometimes going through the whole cancer thing, and when you're sitting there and you're waiting for mammograms and you're around a lot of other women sitting there with a pink, everybody has on your pink cape, and you're waiting. There's something about that, knowing that we're all there for the same reason, and it kind of gives you a strength. I don't care whether it's that, if you're involved in weight loss or whatever, we have so much more strength and power and ability to succeed if we're around other people that are trying to achieve the same thing or are going through the same thing, the same struggle. It just feels like you're not alone. And like you say, so many times we can feel alone and we're not,
Yeah.
So, and it's finding having that ability to connect with those people is awesome. Like I've met so many people through, through Coach Burt, Kelly, she's wonderful. I mean, there's so many people that God puts in your life just to help strengthen you and help encourage you. And it's like, wow, those are gifts that we can't overlook.
Absolutely. Gosh, well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy, busy schedule and being here tonight. And you guys, I've got Suzanne 20 rolling across the screen here. That's the coupon code that if you go to amplifyyourlife.live, and also that QR code that you see on the screen will also take you to that link. Use Suzanne 20 so you can get 20% off your ticket. And I want to encourage you to not just do the general, although the general is fine if that's what you want to do, but I want to encourage you to really consider upgrading, because in the upgrading especially to the ultimate experience, you are going to get to meet Suzanne and the other speakers and panelists and really get to know them and be in the same room with them. And I tell you, that is so amazing, because it's one thing to see them on stage and hear them and be inspired, but that it's another to be able to spend some time with them. And then we've also got some special bonuses that are happening, which I won't reveal right here, right now, but it will be announced here pretty soon what those bonuses are, bonus experience, but you're not going to want to miss it, because it's going to be pretty amazing. So Suzanne 20, amplifyyourlife.live, and also get her book, The Timekeeper. Come out to Salisbury, North Carolina. It's a cute town from what I can see. So I think it's going to be a wonderful time of refreshing. So as we wrap it up, Suzanne, is there any last thing that you would like to tell us?
Well, I guess, be encouraged to, sometimes it's very difficult to make those commitments to go someplace and do something. I would just strongly encourage you to come to the summit. I encourage you to do that because, and being around other people that have experienced life like many of us have, can be such a blessing and such an encouragement to you in ways that you don't even really realize. But staying in and not doing something different is not going to get you different results in your life. It's going to things like this that help grow your faith. And, who doesn't want more faith and more ability to handle whatever is going to come along? And think of all the wonderful people that you will get to meet. So I'm just very, very thankful that God gave me the book, and he's given me a platform to share his love and to encourage people just to not try to squeeze him in your day, but to make him the most important part of your day.
I really like that. Don't squeeze him into your day. Make him the important part of your day. That is so true, because if we just squeezed our husband into our day, guess what happens?
That's true.
Turn out so well, right?
That's right.
So we are so excited, Suzanne. I'm excited to meet you in person. I'm excited to absolutely be in the same room with you. I know it's going to be what is really exciting is that it's going to be such full of wonderful energy with all the speakers and the panelists that are coming, and even the people who are signing up. They're getting so excited. And so I'm excited to be in the same room with that. And with that, I think, how can you not go away changed? So right. I think we're going to do an amazing thing for sure. So continue on the good fight, my friend. I am so glad that you are a person who does not give up very easily, that you want to win. So you're finishing the race. Your endurance is absolutely phenomenal. So you are going to do very, very well. And I'm just so glad that I get to know you. I'm so glad that Kimberly introduced us. And I look forward to the future, to what the future holds for you, Suzanne. So happy New Year.
Thank you. To you too.
January 27th in Salisbury, North Carolina. So we'll say goodbye now.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
All right, you guys. What an amazing lady, right? Suzanne. Oh my goodness. Such a lovely, lovely woman. Absolutely get her book, on Amazon. I believe Kelly put that into the comments. So get your book, The Timekeeper. Absolutely share this out. If you're watching this on the replay, let us know. And if you have any questions at all, please type it into the comments, and we'd love to chat with you. And I'd love for you to like and subscribe if you haven't already to American Dream Makers, Zena Krogadal. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So I'd love to have you like and subscribe so that you don't miss any more phenomenal interviews. The guests that we've had so far, they truly are American dream makers. And I do believe that the American dream belongs to all of us. Not only can you achieve it, but you can go beyond. And Suzanne definitely has demonstrated that you can go beyond. And she certainly would love to help you achieve it and go beyond. So have a wonderful, blessed day, and we will see you later. All right, guys, goodbye.